Hello and howdy to everyone listening live and otherwise. My name's CC Hawkley.
What's up, gang? Scott McDonald over here. Happy to be talking hockey live. This is the first time we've done this, so I'm excited to
Yeah,
see how many people actually care and check in live, and we'll see. I'll try to keep it as clean as possible, but I got a potty mouth, so we'll see.
yeah. We'll drop maybe an obscenity, an explicit. Oh, we got a viewer. I see an eyeball. Woo! This is
Welcome.
exciting. Well, hey, this is episode number 7 of the Front Range Hockey Podcast, and we're going to be dropping this. Currently, we're dropping this on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, but we'll make it available in audio form through every other podcast platform on Wednesday, February 24th, 2021. So thanks for tuning in. Like Scott said, I'm, also excited to be going live, and it's crazy. Like, we've never done this before, and it's not really any different because I don't really do much editing after the fact. So we just decided, 20 minutes before we did this, to jump in and go live. And so thanks for tuning in for those of you who are live. So yeah, I'm kind of befuddled. I'm like nervous because of the live aspect of this, but I really shouldn't be. I used to
Yeah,
do, in the
just
corners on the Sin Bin live. So
yeah, we're just
yeah,
talking. Who cares who
exactly.
listens? They
Just a
find us
couple guys.
entertaining. Maybe they don't. We'll try to keep it as entertaining as possible, but
I mean, Scott will
just two dudes
dance.
talking hockey. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll pop my shirt off if I need to after. That'll be that's the after dark episode. So we'll roll at like 10 p.m. and then we'll see how
Yeah.
crazy we get.
Hashtag Front Range After Dark. We'll make that trend on Twitter for sure, especially with
Yeah,
Scott dancing shirtless. I mean, the man works out, so I'm sure he's a
sometimes,
sight to
yeah.
behold without his shirt on, but Greek god
Mm,
status.
I wouldn't say that. I appreciate. Yeah, let's
That
go with
didn't.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, that didn't
like
sound.
Hercules.
Yeah, we lost that viewer because of that. What that was probably
Yeah,
because of me and
yeah,
just
it
pumping
got
your
weird.
tires. It got weird.
Sorry,
Oh,
guys.
sorry guys, as we lose our only viewer. But hey, for all of you listening after the fact, thanks for tuning in again. Front Range Hockey Podcast with CC Hawkley and Scott McDonald. And first and foremost, I think we should probably talk about Scott's time in Lake Tahoe, because he was at the NHL Outdoors at Lake Tahoe game as the Avs took on the Vegas Golden Knights in probably one of the longest games in NHL history, at least from the beginning of the first period to the end of the third period. Holy crow, Scott! What a unique experience, and probably a frustrating one for you, man.
Dude, I mean, it was a time, and if you've been following along with what I've been writing, like the travel diaries I've been posting on Colorado Hockey now, it was a whirlwind of a 36-hour trip. Not at all what I expected. Memorable, for better or for worse, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a good time like all around. Crazy game, I guess. So for context, so I flew in. I had to work Friday, so I made the decision to fly in around like 10 p.m. Fly to Denver International Airport at around 10 p.m. on Friday, the day before the game. Land in San Francisco around midnight local time. Given I had to go pick up my rental car from the airport at 5 a.m., I didn't think it was worth it to get a hotel or anything. So I just slept or tried to sleep in a little, abandoned food court at Terminal 2 and at San Francisco International Airport. Did not sleep at all. Just kind of stayed up like writing, and yeah, just like if it's not a bed, like I'm a picky sleeper, I guess. If it's not a bed, like I toss and turn, and there's no chance. So I was kind of going and expecting not to sleep, and that's what happened. But picked up my car. I was originally supposed to pick it up at 7 a.m. because I wasn't thinking about the time difference
Sure.
between Denver and San Francisco time or Nevada time, Lake Tahoe time. I didn't realize they were like an hour, I guess, behind Colorado time. So I
They
thought the game
are.
was at 1 p.m. going into it. I was like, 7 a.m. I'll pick up my car from the airport. That's 6 hours to go like to the game or whatever. Plenty of time. And then realize, like day of that it was actually like noon. It's like, okay, well that cuts out an hour. And, now I'm like looking at the GPS and it says it's like 4 to 4.5 hours. I was like, I'm going to, just be barely making it. So I need to, try to pick it up as quickly as possible. And, I knew the rental car, Fox Rent-A-Car. If anyone's listening out there, do not rent from Fox Rent a Car. It wasn't the greatest experience ever, and I probably should have known that. It was the cheapest option, obviously. 1.5 stars on Google and Yelp, and I should have known going into it that I was going to get the attitude I got. But so I had to fight the guy to try to get a car 2 hours earlier than expected.
I'm glad you expounded on that, because I had to fight the guy. Pause.
I threw the damn gloves off, and I punched this man.
And Scott punched him in the face. But no, continue. Sorry, man.
Verbal jabs for sure. Yeah, verbally abused him, which I feel bad after the fact, and we'll get to that. But so I try to pick up the car I get there at like 5:15 a.m. I was like, okay, I need this car like ASAP. I'm looking at traffic or whatever. They just got snow at Lake Tahoe, so I know there's going to be some traffic up there. It's like 4.5, 5 hours. It's like, okay, well, I'm like, doing the math in my head. It's like, I'm barely going to make it there after stopping for gas and things like that. So I find out when I get there, I was supposed to rent a little Toyota Yaris because I picked, the most economical, fuel economic vehicle, I guess, just because I know it was going to be like 200 miles and, I'm trying to save money or whatever. And then I found out, I told the guy like what the situation was. I'm trying to sound way more important than I actually am. Like, I was like, hey man, like I know, I booked my stuff at like 7 a.m., but like I needed it like 5 o'clock. Like I'm in town for like covering the NHL game. Like I have to be there. Can't be late, whatever. I'm a big deal. I didn't tell him I'm a big deal, but I told him I worked for like the NHL. Like I worked for the Avs, just trying to like, sweeten the deal. This guy doesn't give a shit about hockey at all. Like he doesn't even know who the Avalanche are or anything. And so that didn't help my case at all. And he tells me, like the Toyota Yaris is like not going to make it. He's like, oh, you're going to Lake Tahoe? And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's where the game's at. He's like, oh, no, not in this car. You're not. I was like, okay, sir, what do you mean? Like not in this car? And he's like, yeah. So California has like strict, like on Interstate 80, they have strict laws. Like once you get up to Tahoe, and given it had just snowed and there was like a couple inches like fresh snow on the ground, California and Nevada apparently have very strict like chain laws. You have to put a chain, like if it's a 2-wheel drive car, you have to put chains on their car, which a rental car doesn't allow, apparently. Or you have to have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So he gives me the sweet deal of for $150 extra on top of what I paid, you could have a Jeep Wrangler and you could drive it off the lot right now. It's like, dude, I don't believe you. Like, I think this is like horseshit. Like you're staring at a 25-year-old baby-faced kid like across from you, and you're trying to like upsell me on a fancy car that gets 14 miles per gallon. I was like, I'm not buying this. So we go back and forth for probably 10 or 15 minutes. And I was like, dude, I don't believe you. Like, can I please just have the car that I paid for? I need to go like right now. I'm kind of like all the while I'm, on my phone, just like looking up if this is actually like a thing, and kind of getting just like mixed. Yes, it is a thing, or no, it's not. And then eventually he kind of just gives me the ultimatum that he's like, look, dude, he's like, either you wait until like 7:30 to get the car that you wanted. And, maybe you make it, maybe you don't. Like they might turn you around at like, the border of Nevada if you don't have chains on your car, or, for $100, you can have this like, red Jeep Wrangler. And I was like, dude, I'm pissed. Just give me the car. Like at this point, I've, debated with you for 15 or 20 minutes, precious driving time that I could have spent on the road. I'm already about to be late to this thing. Just give me the car, whatever, $100, fine. And then, sign the paperwork or whatever. And, I'm glad I did, because now I feel bad after, giving him a bunch of attitude and verbally kind of fighting this guy and us going back and forth. As we get closer up to Tahoe, it turns out it is a very legitimate rule. There's signs everywhere that say, like chain pull off area, or like buy chains here. There's gas stations selling chains for $30, whatever. I see probably, 50 to 100 cars that are pulled over, strapping their chains on as we approach Tahoe. So now like I feel bad. I was like, yep, there's no way my Toyota Yaris that I was supposed to get would have made it all the way up here. So, thank you, sir, who worked at Fox Rent a Car. I'm not happy about the $100 extra I had to pay, but you probably saved my life. And, he gave me the car earlier than I was supposed to, and he gave me a good deal on it. That's what every salesperson says. I don't know if that's a good deal, but it is what it is. And, I get there. As I approach Tahoe, I'm about 25 miles out, with a couple hours to spare, feeling good about time. And then traffic, just red lights all in front of me. As it starts to get like snowier, there's a bunch of snowpack on the El Dorado freeway, and just it's stopped traffic. Like I stood in one spot for roughly an hour. So I guess there was ski traffic, an accident. I don't know exactly what it was. And now it says like to cover that 25 miles, that last 25 miles to the parking lot of, the hotel I was supposed to be at where the game is being held, 2 hours and 11 minutes is what my GPS said. So at this point, like I just laugh. I was like, I haven't slept in like 36 hours, got in a fight with like, a rental car guy, drove 5 hours here. Now I'm stuck in 2 hour traffic. Like, I mean, what can you do? Like, there's nothing I could do now. So I kind of just like laugh and try to enjoy the moment as much as I could. Just roll the windows down, blast some music, and have myself a time. But luckily, the traffic kind of cleared up quicker than expected, and I think I rolled up with like 45 minutes to spare. So ended up working out pretty well, but an interesting time to say the least. And I'm just stoked to be there. When I finally get there, I was like, okay, everything worked out perfectly. Got the car, made it here safely with 45 minutes to spare. I get there just as they're calling my name to like load up on the first bus. I was in group 1A. So I get my credential and I hear my name like in the next room, like Scott McDonald, group like 1A, whatever. We're boarding now. So again, could not have been like better time, or else I would have missed the bus to the actual rink with all the media people. And then watch a period of it, and then of course it gets delayed. And at this point I've been up for like 40 hours, and I'm just like exhausted. And it's like, oh great, 9 p.m. local time is when we're going to restart, which is like 7 or 8 hours from the time that they delayed it. It's like, dude, I don't know if I can stay up for 8 more hours. Like this is going to be tough, but I made it. I probably drank upwards of 20 cups of coffee, a bunch of like 2 or 3 Americanos with an extra shot in there.
Ooh.
Just doing everything I can to stay up, and I did. And the Avs pulled out the win. It was a good time. Again, memorable for better or for worse. It's a story I won't ever forget, and it's a 36 hours I'm never gonna forget. And I guess I appreciate it for that. And it ended up being a pretty good game too.
Yeah, and it's an experience that you definitely can take with you to the grave.
Yeah.
Only a handful of press guys and media members were able to attend that, and to see that, and to see the grandeur of Lake Tahoe in the wintertime, and a hockey game played
Yeah.
on Lake Tahoe. I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned and as far as my memory serves, that's the first game of its kind that the NHL has really played.
Yeah. Yeah. And I fell in love with Lake Tahoe. It's the first time I'd ever been there. And I mean, what a beautiful setting that was. And, I think I obviously got a great view being, 10 or 15 feet away. But I think, all things considered, it was beautifully executed, perfect location. The camera angles are sweet. The technology with the drone footage was awesome. And I hope, I tweeted this, like, I hope they keep doing that, like without fans. And, I got, kind of put on blast. Like, oh, of course, Scott, you're going to say that because you were one of the only people that got to like see it live. So of course you like don't want fans there. Like, but I mean, there's something to be said. Like you wouldn't be able to have it at Lake Tahoe if there were fans there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can't, there's not a big stadium. You can't fit 30,000 bleachers, around Lake Tahoe. And, I asked the players that leading up to it the day before they left for Tahoe. And after the game, I asked the same question. I was like, I mean, obviously I'm sure you guys would want to have this with fans and, like pumping you up or whatever. And it's loud and it's fun and that atmosphere, like a stadium series game or the Winter Classic. But I mean, how like it's almost like romanticized, a little bit, that it's just the boys on a frozen pond, like in Mother Nature. There's trees around you, like there's water around you. Like how much does that feel like, just growing up as a kid, like in Canada or Sweden or wherever you were, and like it just takes you back to your heritage and like your roots. And yeah, they all said like they enjoyed this more than the stadium series or either of the stadium series they played in. Jared Bednar said like he was not a huge fan of the stadium series game last year, and I don't think any of the fans were, like because of the traffic. Yeah. And yeah, that's the other thing too. Like what a joke. Like there's not even fans that were here, and there's something about the Avalanche having an outdoor game and traffic. I got stuck in it for everyone else this year, and last year we all got stuck in it trying to leave Northgate Boulevard and at Air Force Academy, the one exit they had, and I-25 North was a nightmare too. But yeah, I mean it was an incredible time, and I really hope the NHL kind of takes this idea and keeps doing it. Like keep the Winter Classic, keep the outdoor stadium series games, but I want to see a couple of these outdoor games and just beautiful like prime locations. And like someone tweeted a picture of like Maroon Bells, like that lake in Colorado, like up in Aspen, the Maroon Bells is like a beautiful backdrop, and that would be a sweet place to like host a game and have that backdrop there. And I think the NHL could get like very creative with where they host some of these, and it's a little bit cheaper without the fans, and I think they should kind of stick with that idea. I had a great time.
Yeah, man, I was hanging on every word of your story. I'm like, is he gonna drive the Yaris? Is he gonna get the Wrangler? What is he gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
and to basically say, all right, I'll get the Jeep. And yeah, unfortunately, you had to pay an extra $100, but at least you didn't get tagged with a no chains fine or get stuck in that Yaris, for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
exactly.
I mean, yeah, that mountain
Yeah.
driving can be no joke. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean, I have another question. This is completely unrelated to the story you just told, but you've been dropping these images online on your account, and you gained like upwards of 450 new followers over the weekend. So of course you're going to be debuting these new album covers. But no, did you
Yeah.
take these pictures that you say, okay, name this album, like Groobs with the sunglasses on and Nathan McKinnon coming down? Did you take those photos?
No, I didn't take those photos. I just ripped
Oh,
those off
okay.
the internet, and I did some like editing. So it's like a big trend that's like going around. Honestly, I hate to say it, but like I'm big on TikTok. I don't know if CC if you're on if you're on TikTok or
I am. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm on
it's
there.
it's addicting. Unfortunately, I spend like 2 to 3 hours on it every night because you just get sucked in your phone and you just keep scrolling. But yeah, it's like it was a trend I saw on TikTok where people are turning like cool moments, or, like funny moments into like album covers and kind of just colorizing it a little bit and then putting the explicit content sticker on there so it looks like an album cover. And I think I saw someone else on Twitter do it with the Philadelphia and Boston Bruins game, like the game that was on Sunday. I was like, I'm gonna like do that. And I just thought of like a couple of the cool pictures, like the Nate McKinnon picture of like him walking out for practice. It was pretty badass. And then yeah, the Grubauer wearing the Oakley sunglasses, I think was just hilarious. And it's a highway to the danger zone kind of look. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, we had fun with that. And yeah, I mean, I like to like be goofy. Like, yeah, I'm a team reporter or whatever, and I like to be like serious and talk about things too. But at the end of the day, it's about like fan engagement and spreading fun content too. That's like half the job of doing what we do.
It is. I
So
mean,
yeah,
social media.
I like to do that
Go ahead.
stuff. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
go.
no, social media these days. I mean, it's really engaging, if you have a brand, as it were, and you're good at engaging folks and, you know, showcasing that kind of thing. So, it's something that I try to throw in a little bit on my account as well. Maybe a little more dry humor because, I have that kind of dry British Canadian sense of humor about me. A la Monty Python or the Red Green Show. I mean, if you want to modernize it a little bit, pitter patter, let's get at her. We'll go Letterkenny. But yeah, I mean, just kind of that drier sense of humor. But no, you're like the album covers, like the one with Nate McKinnon. I chimed in there and I'm like the Nordeeks, and I spelled Deeks Dekes. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
got a
yeah,
you got a like from Dater on that one too. He liked that. He didn't
I
like any of mine.
did.
It's like, damn, all
I
right. Dater, if
hey,
you're listening to this, what's going on, man?
Dater, real respect and real, it's just
Apparently, yeah,
hey, you work for him, so I mean, he doesn't
that's
want to give
true.
you too much of a big head, but yeah,
That's
no,
fair.
Scott was at Lake Tahoe. The Avs won that game 3-2 after the big delay, the 8-hour delay between the first and second periods. And then the Avs fell to Vegas the next game, which was not at Lake Tahoe, 3-0. We'll get to that a little later because we got a lot of questions to handle, but let's transition a little bit, Scott. Let's talk about the Colorado Eagles real quick. And I did catch the Friday game. I went back and watched it against the Ontario Reign after they had lost to the Ontario Reign on Wednesday, and we covered that on our last episode. But yeah, that game on the 19th against the Reign, the Eagles picked up the 4-2 win, and I think a big help on that was the return of TJ Tynan and the Eagles' debut of Mika Salamaki and Kiefer Sherwood. And so, boom, 11 seconds into the game, the Eagles force a turnover in the Reign zone. Riley Woods, TJ Tynan, they kind of team up and force a turnover. The puck gets to Sherwood. Boom, wrister right by JF Berube. 11 seconds into the game, they score the first goal. Tynan picks up the second goal in the second period, and then the Eagles kind of let the Reign back into the game. And Riley Woods, unfortunately, he fell down and he didn't get back on defense. And the Rain scored, making it 2-1 in the third period. And then the Rain scored again, making it 2-2. And then the fourth line, Josh Dickinson, he wins the faceoff and he gets the puck out to Charlie Girard. And Girard, boom, game-winning goal, 3-2. Tynan adds the empty netter, in the third, late in the third. And Eagles win 4-2. And man, Tynan, it's amazing. It's night and day with this team. I mean, you and I both know how much of a playmaker he is. I said ad nauseum on the Calder Farmstead podcast, Tynan, one of the best playmakers in the AHL, but my God, he is such a leader on the ice. Like him, beating his chest and pointing to the young guys where to go before the face-off, huddling up everybody. He was paired on the first line with Riley Woods and Kiefer Sherwood. Big surprise you pair Sherwood and Tynan together. But yeah, I mean, Tynan, before he took the face-off, I mean, he was being the commander, man. I mean, he was just, quarterbacking the team on the ice right there. It's just, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, Scott, but having Tynan back is just a huge difference, and it makes all the world of difference when it comes to the Colorado Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like he's one of the key guys, and with some of the losses that the Eagles had, the past or the turnover that they had this over the last couple seasons, he's been one of the constants that stayed in the lineup, and he's a veteran of over 400 AHL games, and it kind of comes with the territory of. The Eagles have such a young team this year, and, they're all kind of trying to find their legs, and, a lot of them are 18, 19 years old and shouldn't be playing in the AHL. And we've touched on that a few times in the podcast. And if it were any other year and, the WHL and, all the CHL teams were playing, then, they wouldn't be here. So it's obviously like a learning curve, and we're only, a handful of games into the year. So, I mean, it kind of, Tynan's always, kind of a visible kind of guy. On the ice, he's always kind of a guy you notice. He's fast and he's a playmaker. He's fun to watch, but it kind of just sticks out quite a bit as well because when you're holding a candle to what this team has currently as far as how young they are, and Tynan's obviously going to be the guy that sticks out the most. But yeah, like you said, I mean he's a huge guy for this team, and he's the leading point getter last year for the Eagles. He's already the leading point getter. He's only played 2 games. He already has 5 points, and I fully expect him to finish the year as at the top of the the Eagles scoring sheet, and it's huge. Let's just hope that he can stay healthy, and he might be a guy that the Avs may try to poach after a little bit. If knock on wood, the Avs can't stay healthy as has been the case for so far this season, but he's a guy that could definitely crack the NHL roster. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't already. They picked Jason Megna in the Avalanche roster over TJ Tynan, and Tynan, to me, like, I think I said it last year to, much to the chagrin of a lot of my followers, but I was like, you watch TJ Tynan in person and he looks like Nathan McKinnon. And I know that's like, you got to be kind of like wary of who you, I guess, compare to Nathan McKinnon, because he's like one of the greatest players in the NHL right now, arguably the greatest player in the NHL right now. But I mean, he's just as fast as him. I would say, I mean, maybe he's a little bit smaller, obviously, but he's just as creative. He's as much of a playmaker, and he's a guy. Anytime he's on the ice, whether he's with the Eagles or McKinnon with the Avs, he's the guy that you notice, right away, which is his speed and his stick handling ability and his ability to finish. And yeah, he's huge for this team. And the Eagles need a guy like that, especially being so young, to have that veteran leadership. He's an AHL All-Star. He's played 400 some games, which I think right now. With Megna being, I think Megna's still on the taxi squad, so he's got the most tenure of anyone on the Eagles right now, and that's going to be huge for like I said, how young this team is moving forward.
Yeah, and speaking of young guys, I mean, Jean-Luc Foudy. I know I talked about him. You mentioned seeing a little bit of Nathan McKinnon when you see TJ Tynan, and I'd mentioned that about Jean-Luc Foudy as well. Just the way he handled the puck, his speed, and trying to be a playmaker and just not finding a whole lot of success on that top line there. It's amazing. You put those guys in and you kind of shuffle the lines down. Like I spoke about how Ryan Wagner really stepped up and, really seized those first line minutes, and he got relegated back down to the third line, but he still gave that same compete, gave that same hustle, because that's what Ryan Wagner does. And, with Foudy, he was drawing, he drew a couple penalties in that Wednesday game, I think I mentioned on the last episode, But
Mm-hmm.
a young guy that I mentioned earlier that is, it's not good news. It's Riley Woods. And he got released from his professional tryout agreement after this weekend. And unfortunately, he also was directly responsible for the first 2 goals that San Diego had against the Eagles on Saturday night. San Diego scored 3 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game. And that first goal, it was it was a zone entry into the goals territory. Woods passed. It was a bad pass to Keaton Middleton on the point. It was a bad pass that hopped over Middleton's stick. Boom. Vinny Lettieri, he'd already burned Colorado for 2 goals in the season opener. And boom, he gets another one right away, straight away. I can't remember. I think it was like, God, it was in the first minute of gameplay. And Lettieri had already put one in the back of the net, just kind of let Trent Miner out to dry, who's been a great goaltender.
I agree.
Yeah, Trent Miner has been great. I mean, only allowing under normal circumstances, a couple goals a game, which is, a good goals against average, I would say. But the second goal, it's Woods again. His stick got caught. He was defending Curran for San Diego. His stick got caught. He lost his balance. He recovered, but he slept on his man. He slept on Curran. Curran slides up to the middle, and he's uncontested. He's all alone. Boom. They get the puck on his stick right by Miner. So you're down 2-0 already. You've dug yourself quite a hole, and then boom, they added that third goal, and that was a Foodie turnover, actually. So it was a turnover.
Rookie mistakes, man. It's
mistakes.
They're a young team, and you can't really blame them for some of these mistakes they're making. And that's the best way to learn, right? Like baptism by fire or whatever. It's like you gotta make these mistakes, and you gotta be hung out to dry every once in a while to realize that you're not as good as these guys, and that's kind of the whole point of being in the AHL. It's like that's your competition. That's where you want to be. I mean, you want to be in the NHL. That's why you're playing this game, and you can't get burned like that. And I think that's the best way to learn is get smacked in the mouth, and you'll never do that again, or at least you'll try harder not to ever let that happen again. And so they're critical mistakes at the time, and maybe it cost them a game or two. But I guarantee you he's like still thinking about that, and he's going to do everything he can in his power to not let that happen again next time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, with Kyle Burrows being assigned to the Eagles on that Saturday, and he's set to make his Eagles debut this coming Wednesday, which is the home opener for the Eagles, which unfortunately is inconsequential to fans, but
Right.
I'll be there. I've got my credential ready to go. And unfortunately Scott can't make it, and we can't, meet in person for the first time, but
We will soon enough, my friend. All right?
exactly. We will for sure. But yeah, Kyle Burrows, defenseman, former Bridgeport Sound Tigers captain, him joining the squad is of course going to help on the defensive effort for sure. But sending guys like Nick Henry and Ty Lewis back to the Utah Grizzlies, releasing Miles Gendron from his PTO, he's going to return to the Grizzlies. Goaltender Kevin Carr is also going back to the Grizzlies. So yeah, you've got that's a good sign when you have those depth guys called up and then they're going back down. It's only a matter of time before you get another roster adjustment, and you've got the top line guys being top line guys instead of your third line guys, and your bottom 6 forwards having to fill in those top 6 forward minutes. So
Sure.
like I said, home opener, Tucson Roadrunners, Wednesday. That is the 24th. And I'll be there. I'll be live tweeting. So follow along at CCHawk. That's SEESEEHAWK. And I'll be live tweeting that game and covering that in person. So I'll try to send some videos too. And
Definitely.
yeah, because it'll be just right there in the diagonal press box from the Budweiser Event Center. That's a neat little niche. It can be a little challenging to kind of view the opposing goal from down there, but
Yeah.
I think it's a neat little configuration that they got.
I feel like that's how it is for any press box. Like the Avs is way in the corner, like section 332 or something like that. And yeah, I've never understood that. It's like I think they try to generally place you on the attack twice side, so you get to see the home team, at least 2 times closer on that side. But yeah, once the game gets across ice, it's kind of tough to see numbers and stuff. And that's the good thing about Budweiser Event Center, and how it's obviously smaller than Ball Arena. And I've always enjoyed that press box. I spent many a time in there, and covering the Eagles and interning for the Eagles, and it's a cool press box. It's small, but it's quaint. and it kind of just fits the vibe, of the Eagles and of the Budweiser Event Center. I love it. Feels like home.
We got a comment on YouTube from Joseph Wills here. We'll talk about his. But yeah, look at that. Burrows is great. Saw him play here in Charlotte. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. Yeah, that's. I think that was one of the bigger acquisitions. Heading into this offseason. And he's going to be a leader. I think that's something like we talked about with Tynan. That's something that the Eagles need. They're a very, very young team this year, and a guy like Burrows who has that experience and has that captain experience is, I think, going to be huge, especially on the back end, teaching some of these young guys the ropes.
For sure. Definitely for sure, especially on the defensive end, because when you let in 7 goals and it's basically a low scoring old school game, San Diego Chargers versus Denver Broncos. I meant San Diego because goals and Eagles, but yeah, 7-3, not good, not the best. So again, Tucson, Wednesday night, I'll be there. Check it out for sure. All right. I'm done talking Eagles. I could go on and on, but we got to rein it in. We got a lot of questions. So real quick, collegiate hockey update. Okay, so DU, they sat dormant this past week. Once again, their next game is Thursday, February 25th against Colorado College. So they're still 7-12-1, but they've dropped down to 6th. They were 5th. Now they're 6th out of 8 teams in the NCHC. So that's DU. Colorado College, they won a game. So that's good. They beat University of Minnesota. I know, matter of fact, right? Right. University of Minnesota Duluth, they defeated them 2-1 last Thursday, but then they get shut out by Omaha, University of Nebraska Omaha, 4-0. So 1 step forward, 2 steps back for the Colorado College Tigers. 4-14-2. They're tied for 7th with, I forget which team. Miami of Ohio. There we go. Tied for 7th with Miami of Ohio in the NCHC out of 8 teams. So yep, they were kind of slipping as well, but at least you get a win. That's a good moral victory towards the end of the season, I would say, against a top tier club like Minnesota Duluth.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Again, you just take any positive you can when when they're as substandard as the Colorado collegiate hockey teams have been this year. DU and CC and Air Force obviously too. It's been a rough year for NCAA hockey. On that note. Air Force.
That thought. Air Force Falcons closing out the season strong with not 1, but 2 wins against.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Really hitting their stride here at the end of the season.
And listen to this. So a 4-3 overtime victory over Canisius on the 19th at home at the Air Force Academy there in Colorado Springs. And then they go and put up a 5 spot on them, 5-1. And that's the last game of the season. Air Force does not finish last in Atlantic hockey. They don't finish last in that conference. They are 11th out of 12 teams. Holy Cross is the 12th team now. So actually, I take that back. Sorry. 10th. Air Force is 10th out of 11 teams. So Holy Cross is 11th. Air Force is now 10th. So, and Canisius, they're ranked 4th in the Atlantic Hockey Conference. Not a bad way to finish the year after a disappointing season. You don't finish the year with 1 victory. They're now 3-9-1. So not too bad for Air Force. Again, kind of a late bloomer for sure, but that's a hell of a statement saying, you know what, we're not going to finish last. So,
it's about moral victories, at this time of year. Yeah. And when you're when you're as bad as you are, then you take what you can get, any positive, right?
Exactly. All right. Our favorite part of the show coming up. Well, it's here. We've got Asking the Feed.
And we got a bunch of questions.
We do. So let's get started. Joseph Wills, I mentioned him. He commented on YouTube just a second ago. Does Group get a day off? If so, which game?
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to get some days off here. I have not checked the schedule. I guess I could do that. But, just talking to Jared Bednar a couple days ago, he said that, the plan is to get Miska, I guess, a few games. I would say he's probably going to get 2 or 3 in the next month. And now that the Avs are kind of entering this period where they're playing every other day, or like 15 games in like 29, 30 days, whatever it is. As good as Grubauer has been, I think you need to give him some rest because, God forbid he goes down, that is now all of a sudden Hunter Miska's your starting goalie, then Adam Werner and Peyton Jones, and it's not where you want to be at, especially if you want to be, the favorites to go and win the Stanley Cup. That's gonna be tough. So I think you definitely gotta, let him rest his knees and rest that groin and whatnot. Anything that ails a goalie down the road and gets sore. Yeah, I fully expect Hunter Miska to get, 2 or 3 games in the next month or so, and if not more. We'll see how he performs, but I'm excited. And we got a bunch of questions about that too. I guess we can kind of transition into those, but everyone's concerned about backup goalie or if the Avs are going to target anyone, and I really think they want to give Hunter Miska a shot. And I've told everyone this on Twitter. I think you and I have seen him plenty of times as a member of the Eagles. He stole the job from Adam Werner, and he played great. I mean, he was the MVP for the Eagles in my opinion last season, and in his 2 games he's played for the Avalanche this year, I think he's looked very solid. I don't say any of those losses are his fault necessarily. I think he's standing on his head most of the time, and I trust in Miska. I know he's not a household name yet, I suppose, but I think he's a guy that you want to keep your eye out on. I think Jared Bednar and his staff kind of think the same thing. We've only given him 2 games. Let's give him 2 more, see how he plays, and get a couple wins out of it. And I think he's going to be your backup goalie while Francouz recovers from whatever is ailing him. That's going to keep him out for a long time. So I'm Team Miska.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, he was a top 10 AHL goaltender last year. Just got to tell the fans to give him a shot. Give him a chance. Don't stoke the fires of this goalie trade talk. Hey, you remember last year? Oh, Martin Count, trade Martin Count to the Rangers and get Henrik Lundqvist, and easy.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. We're going to truck along here. Joel Sodvalanche James. That's at Joel James 15 on Twitter. One of the co-hosts to the Mile High Pundit podcast that we have appeared on. So Joel asks, do you guys foresee any big line changes after the split series with Vegas? I'm going to answer first and say maybe some minor tinkering, but not really. Scott?
Line changes. I don't think so. I think Bednar, he likes to make adjustments on the fly in games all the time. We call it the Bednar blender, and it's he'll just tinker around usually in the second period and kind of throw guys together based on what he's feeling, and it's usually the top 2 lines that kind of get flip-flopped. And I think he, from game to game, he'll usually stick with what he has. And I don't think Bednar or anybody liked their effort. I guess last night, Monday, in the shutout loss, obviously, but that's an up and down the lineup kind of problem. There's obviously the Nathan McKinnons and all those guys are playing their ass off most nights, but I think everyone else, it was just they didn't have their legs under him, and the players admitted that. Bednar said he saw that too. It's we just were just trudging along and just didn't seem like we had our legs under us, and we were tired. And I don't think that facilitates any sort of need for changing up the lineup at all. I think what they have right now is the best they got, with one exception. I think a lot of people would love to see a guy like JT Compher out of the lineup. I'm probably one of those guys. I'm not Team Compher right now. I think he's been having a rough year. I think he's been a liability most of the time he's on the ice, which is unusual. He's a pretty solid third line kind of guy, and he's having a rough go at it. I think he only has 2 points in 15 games. He's played every game. He's averaging 15 minutes a night, but just really not doing much with it. Getting a bunch of untimely penalties. And I tweeted something about it, and you know how everyone on this podcast and everyone on my Twitter knows how I feel about Logan O'Connor and how much he deserves to be a mainstay in the Avalanche lineup. And as soon as I tweeted how bad JT Compher's been, or how much of a ghost he's been, or whatever it was that I said, so many people are quote tweeting or commenting on it saying it's time. It's Logan O'Connor time. And that was just, music to my ears, or music to my eyes, I guess, just reading that kind of stuff. And it's I absolutely agree. I think if you're going to make that switch, I think, take JT Compher out, give him a couple, games to watch film and, observe from the press box and, kind of gather himself. Just like, Bednar did it with Ryan Graves earlier in the year. Just have a sit down conversation with them and, healthy scratch him for a game or 2, let him kind of think about things, and then see if they turn it around. And I don't know why they took Logan O'Connor out of the lineup. I think he's a guy that deserves to stay, no matter what. I think there's other people that, should go before he gets sat. But I get it's a seniority thing or whatever it is. But it's something I'm certainly going to ask Jared Bednar tomorrow at morning skate what he thinks about JT Compher, and is it time to bring Logan O'Connor in? We'll see what he says.
They need to call 877 goals now. They haven't been calling the hotline. That's why he hasn't been scoring.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you're familiar with that meme, that's quite prominent on Twitter, at least the past few past couple seasons now. But anyway,
could not be further from the truth this season though.
Unfortunately. So Joel, thanks for that question. Next question, Steve Neve, Noco Scuba Steve handle on Twitter. Thank you, Scuba Steve. We really appreciate it. What's the extent?
I just saw Adam Sandler. Was that Adam Sandler?
That was Adam Sandler.
Okay, I was like, I'm gonna feel really bad if it wasn't. But
no,
okay, that was solid.
I was talking about Scuba Steve, Adam Sandler. See, now it's done. Disintegrating. Thank you, sir. But so no coast Scuba Steve. Thank you, Steve Nave. What is the extent of Coutts' injury timetable for a return? Actually, Scott wrote something about this that dropped on Colorado Hockey now just a couple hours ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I checked in with some sources to see what's going on, and the update is there is no update. That's all I could get from my sources, and he's working out. I did get out of them that he's not skating, so that usually generally means that they're a couple weeks out, because they like to work them out off the ice and kind of get them ease their way back into it and then get a few practices in. So I wouldn't expect him to be in the lineup for the next couple weeks. They weren't able to tell me if it was upper body, lower body, whatever it is. I do know it's not COVID related. That much I got out of it, but who knows? Who knows if it's even an injury at all? To be honest with you, that's just speculation. Maybe I shouldn't say this to stoke the fires, but I don't know. I think in the past, Martin Coutts he gets really down on himself a lot, and I don't think his mental state is where it needs to be. And maybe they're taking this time maybe that's why it's not an upper or lower body injury. Maybe it's just he's taken some time off, and he's not emotionally there. But that's a long shot. My speculation. Don't read too much into that. But I have been right. A couple times this season, I've had some just odd feelings about certain situations. Whether it's Matt Calvert's concussion thing, which I confirmed was true, and the whole COVID shutdown when they canceled practice at midnight, that we found out while we were recording the podcast that, I speculated that it was probably COVID related. A bunch of people were like, no, because they test in the morning. And then, they shut down for 2 weeks. So I'm just saying, I think how weird my sources have kind of been about the situation and how little I've been able to get out of them, which I usually can get, enough out of them. I'm not 100% sure if it is an injury at all. So that's just speculation. Don't read too much into that.
Hey,
let's not tweet this out. We'll keep this on the podcast, because I don't want to get in trouble with some people. But just an idea in the back of my head.
Just a hunch. Scott's inclinations to read the tea leaves, as it were. He's got a pretty good track record as it is, but again, he's just spitballing here. It's nothing concrete, nothing solid. So don't blast this on social media and say, this is what Scott McDonald said. He's got over 2,000 followers. Listen to him.
We get some big verified person retweeting or something. I'm going to get in trouble. I don't want that rumor spreading. So it is just a rumor. It's just speculation. Don't tweet me about it. I hope it's just an injury. I hope I'm wrong about this one.
Sure,
but just a weird feeling I have. So
yeah. Thanks for the question, Steve. Appreciate it, bud. David Nola at David Nola 985. He's been pretty active in asking us some questions. It's a little bit of a paragraph here, so hang with me. Watching the Vegas series and how Vegas got away with those cheap shots, do you think the Avs tried to get a third or fourth line guy that can fight back and send a message that you're not going to get away with the after the whistle BS? Who besides Sam Bennett could be options? Calvert will still fight, but really don't want him to do that with this concussion history. Other than him, Landy, only other one I've seen willing to fight. I know they picked up Dennis Gilbert to take care of this, but alas, he's going to be out for a number of months, at least from what I saw. So
no, I think a month and a half. Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
4 to 6 weeks.
Got a broken face bone. He took a tough hit, I guess. He got surgery on his face. I didn't know that was a thing. So
wow. Oh yeah.
yeah, that's where we're at with him.
you break an orbital bone. Oh yeah, I'm sure you got to get that repaired. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Dennis Gilbert. I mean, he was the big, tough, gritty guy that we kind of pumped the tires on coming into the Eagles with that sandpaper and everything that they picked up during the offseason. So, Scott, I'll let you handle this. I mean, I don't see the Avs trading for a third or fourth guy. You know, Sakic isn't one to just trade to trade. Again, it goes back to the goalie situation last year, and I think it applies to this situation this year.
Yeah, I think that was the qualm that a lot of fans had about losing Nikita Zadorov or trading him away. He was kind of the sandpaper guy on the team and the guy that stuck up for everybody and didn't take shit from anyone.
Right.
I mean, he was a liability in his own zone, but I mean, the one thing he was very good at was agitating and hitting back and punching and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my biggest thing. We've talked about it a few times across the last season or so. I think that was their issue in the playoffs. They weren't physical enough. They got beat up by Dallas. Obviously, it didn't help that they weren't healthy and missing 7 guys. But I think even had they been healthy, they're just getting pushed around by a bigger, meaner team, and that's what you need in the postseason. So I think it's a very fair assessment, and it's a fair concern to say that we should get a guy that like a fourth line guy, like a Ryan Reeves kind of character, or a Tom Wilson, someone that can chip in and also get chippy, I guess. Because yeah, you have Matt Calvert, but he's a small guy and he needs to be wrapped in bubble wrap at this point. So we don't want him, kind of fighting. And yeah, other than that, Landy's kind of the guy too, and that's about all the Avs have. I guess JT Comfort to a degree, but he kind of just more mucks it up at the end of plays and doesn't really do anything during the game, I guess. So yeah, I think it's fair. As far as a replacement goes, I think Sam Bennett is an attractive option, certainly. But yeah, I just don't know, to your point, CC, I don't know if we're at that stage where we're going to make trades at the moment. And, as long as they're winning, like the Avs are, that's all that matters at the end of the day. It's like they're racking up points. They're getting wins. Yeah, they split the series with Vegas. Could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, they're holding their own. They're fighting with Vegas for the top spot in the West. And, they're getting healthy, so we'll see what happens. But Logan O'Connor, I will say that Logan O'Connor needs to be in the lineup for all those reasons. One, he just plays. He's a heart and soul guy, and he's a guy that's willing to defend his teammates, and he's not afraid to get hit and to take hits, but also give hits as well, and be that guy to grind away in the corner, because I think that's something the Avs need. He checks off all the boxes. He's got the speed, the playmaking ability, the forechecking ability is unreal. His PK ability is, probably the best on the Avs when he is on the Avs. And I just don't understand why, they're not giving him a full-time chance. But I think it's just, a seniority thing. But I think that'd be an easy, non-trade option, is to insert him in the lineup for, more than 2 games at a time and then see what he can do.
Thanks for the question, Dave. And we'll just keep this train rolling. Matthew Villanueva at Unpucky Guy. I almost said unlucky, but Unpucky Guy. Should the team consider taking a look at the availability of Jack Eichel? And should he become available, does the front office make an offer? I'm going to say, in a word, no.
Yeah, that's just going to be a little too expensive, I think. It's, it fills a role that, yeah, it goes back to the Taylor Hall debate, of last year during the trade deadline. And, the Avs were a team that were, considered to be one of the dark horse candidates, or one of the favorites, I guess, to land him. And, everyone wanted him, which I get. It's add as much firepower as possible. It's fun. The Avs are a fun, skilled team, and you add a former Hart Trophy winner to it. It can only make them better. And I get that's where everyone's head's at, but yeah, at what cost? One, the Avs don't have the contract space for any of this. You got to think about what's coming down the pipeline. You got Gabe Landeskog is going to get re-signed this offseason. Cale Makar is going to be the highest paid defenseman in the NHL. I'm sure he'll probably sign a bridge contract, given the whole COVID thing and the fact that we're going to have a flat salary cap for the next couple of seasons. I think he probably signs a smaller $7 to $8 million, bridge contract, but he's going to get paid. He's going to get Erik Karlsson money as soon as, the cap space kind of eases up a little bit. Nathan McKinnon, is going to get a raise from his, $5 or $6 million, whatever he's getting paid, some cheap contract that he definitely deserves to have doubled, and he likely will have it doubled. So just looking down, the barrel, it's something you got to think about is cap space. And, I'm sure like Joe Sacco could love a Jack Eichel character, in the locker room, and obviously the skill he would bring to the team, but we don't have Jack Eichel money, and that'd be a tough trade to facilitate and a tough one to pull off unless you're trading, some big contracts back, which is possible. But I don't think they're going to even try to take a look at Jack Eichel if he's made available. Maybe they throw their hat in the ring and give them some sort of offer, because why not? But yeah, I'm not expecting those talks to go deep at all.
Yeah, pretty quick answer to that question. I mean, we're trying to do lightning round here, so Matt, we do appreciate the question though, as always. Thank you. Gregor's Kosiuba. Forgive me for butchering your name, bud. I am terrible.
That's a tough one.
Kokuba. Anyway, at Grizgor's.
Let's just read the question.
Okay, sorry, Scott's limping and dying inside.
I mean, good on you for even trying that, because I couldn't even tell you.
Oh man,
but he's a fun guy. We interact quite a bit.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll call him Greg. So Greg has a question: Avs 2001 versus Avs 2021. This is a good one. Who would win? Yeah,
it was a fun one. He started quite the debate in my mentions on that one. I think everyone's kind of the same, consensus that the 2001 team would definitely beat the Avs 2021 team. And we kind of touched on it. I think my main takeaway from that, I would agree. Obviously I'm not too familiar with the 2001 team. I was 5 years old and, wasn't really huge into hockey at that time. It's actually when I just moved to Colorado. But yeah, I mean, just looking at,
chime in?
Yeah, totally.
I was just going to say, you mentioned you weren't too familiar with it. But I was 14. So I am a little bit more of an elder statesman, at least in that regard.
Sure.
To Avs hockey and everything. Sorry, Scott. I'm not calling
you
like a young buck or anything.
You're more tenured. Good. Well, I mean, I am. Like that's fair.
You are, and that's perfectly fine. We all are different levels and everything. I mean, you've got the Pro Hockey Writers Association, little feather in your cap there. So I don't have that. But anyway, age is just a number, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, real quick, the 2001, the 2001 Colorado Avalanche. Okay, let me list some names here. Chris Drury was in, he had 2 years experience. He had 65 points that year. Alex Tanguay was on that team, 21 years old. Drury was 24. Tanguay had 77 points that year. Forsberg had 89 points. He was 27. Still fairly young, but then you got Sakic still producing at a super high level at 31 years old, 54 goals, 64 assists. And then you've got guys like Milan Hajduk, who's also 24 years old, 79 points. He had 41 goals that season. Holy cow. And then of course you've got the Rob Blakes. Rob Blake joined that team. He was 31 years old, standout defenseman, and the Grey Wolf, Ray Bourque himself, 40 years old, still put up 52 assists and 59 points total that season. Holy cow. One of the best of all time. I mean, those are some Hall of Fame guys. And of course, Patrick Waugh at 35 years old, 40 saves, 40 wins.
Yeah, I don't think it would even be close. That the 2001 team would kick the shit out of 2021. I mean, it wouldn't even be close, just because, for all the reasons we listed. One, they're just like older, more veteran team. They generally tend to do better in the playoffs because, they have the experience. They know what it takes to have these like deep runs. It's something the Avs lack. Big thing too is just, how physical and how gritty the 2001 team was. I mean, even their goalie, Patrick Waugh, didn't take shit from anybody, and, to have guys like Forsberg and Foote and obviously Rob Blake too is a big guy, and Ray Bourque and all those guys, like for all those reasons. I mean, I think that beats Nathan McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog and Mikko Renn and all those guys, 10 times out of 10. I don't think it'd be close. I think the 2001 team would win in 5 games of the 2021 team.
Yep. Yeah. It'd be I mean, it'd be a pretty quick series, but yeah, 0-1. That's my opinion too. So,
Yeah.
all right, moving on. Lightning round here. Does this team, Jake at RUGGZ_, that's his handle on Twitter. Does this team have much scoring depth, as much scoring depth as we originally thought? Starting to question Burakovsky as a consistent top six guy, and Landon Scogg's lack of offense is concerning. Your thoughts on that, real quick, Scott?
Yeah, quickly, yes. I don't. No, I don't think they have as much scoring depth as they originally thought. They did appear to be stacked. Like you look at the depth chart heading into the season, and it looks like they check off all the boxes to be a Stanley Cup contender. And obviously, the bookies and Vegas and all those people thought the same thing. And Nathan McKinnon were the favorites or whatever. And on paper, yeah, they absolutely look like it. But as far as execution goes, no, I don't think they found their stride. And obviously, the inconsistency of health has been an issue. And they've missed a couple key guys heading down the stretch, but yeah, I don't think they're scoring as much as they should be. And Burakovsky, a consistent top six guy, I think he is. I think he's solid. But again, he's, I guess, inconsistent, but I think he should stay in the top six. And yeah, Landeskog has been a concern of mine for the last couple seasons. I think he's a little irresponsible with the puck at times, and he looks a little slow and sluggish at times. And yeah, he's the captain and he's the the locker room guy, but on ice, I'm not seeing the production that I'd like to see, and I don't think anyone is. And I don't think Bednar would say that of all these guys. I don't think anyone's producing as much as we thought. So yeah, it's a concern, I would say, for sure. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, when you're the captain and you've got a little bit of, I mean, yeah, that's part of the leadership roles to contribute on the ice as well, I would think. So yeah, that's obviously a concern. But players hit slumps and all that. We'll definitely talk a little bit about that too. Teddy at TJ Tracy 92 he's got a insert obvious Connor Timmins question here. Of course, the Connor Timmins apologist, as he is always. Do you think he'll last the season?
Yeah, that's a story I'm drafting up too, and something I want to ask Bednar tomorrow or hopefully soon. But yeah, Teddy, I mean, he's a big supporter of Connor Timmins, and we've kind of bonded over that fact. And he's one of my loyal followers that always interacts with me. And hi, Teddy, if you're listening. I'm sure you are. You're probably not going to like what I'm about to say about Connor Timmins, but yeah, I don't like his game, and that's something me and Dater kind of went back and forth. The last podcast we talked about it. I think he's been super inconsistent. He looks nervous all the time. He's very hesitant in situations, and in the NHL, obviously, you need to make these quick plays. You got to be like Cale Makar, and make the quick pass and make the smart play. And I think Connor Timmins just looks too nervous, all the time. It's like as soon as he gets the puck, he's just chipping it up the boards, and it usually gets intercepted, or he looks a little lost at times, I think. And I think that's something that he has his ups and downs, and I think he might need a little more time in the AHL. I guess I don't know what you do at this point, because he's kind of at that weird critical juncture of his career. It's like, I mean, is he wasting his time in the AHL if you send him back, or should you just let him learn through these mistakes and keep him in the NHL? And like we talked about a little bit earlier, like you got to let these guys kind of learn from failures, and maybe that's why they're keeping him in the lineup. But I think for me, he's been pretty inconsistent all season, and he just looks hesitant and nervous with the puck. And I think that needs to change, or else he's not going to last the whole season.
There you go. The honest opinion of Scott McDonald there. So thank you for the question, Teddy. Appreciate it. SRB74 at Avs Canadian. What about our goalie situation? I'm all for both our goalies, but if Frankie is out long-term, who are some backup goalies they could target? I'm going to piggyback this with the next question so we can cover it again and get it taken care of in a quick and expedient manner. Casey Cheatham from Mile High Hockey at Casey Cheatham. Miska versus Warner. Who do you trust more as a backup in Francouz's absence? So goalie situation, backup goalies they could target. I mean, it's not that much of a concern like we've talked about. And then Miska versus Warner. We both give the nod to Miska. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, yeah, that's fair. We kind of touched on it earlier, so we could be really quick with that one. But yeah, Miska Warner, I don't think it's even close. I think Miska, stole the job at the AHL level from Warner, and I think he's the de facto number 2 guy for the Avalanche right now, and I don't think Warner is ready. And yeah, I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think the Avs are necessarily looking for anyone. I think they want to give Miska a fair shot at being the number 2, while Francis gets healthy, hopefully sooner rather than later. But if they are going to target a goalie, Craig Anderson. Boom.
Absolutely, bring him back to the Avs.
Yeah.
I like that. If you're going to target a goalie, why not? Why not bring? Yeah, no, I'm stunned by that. No, that's a great idea. I was just kind of dismissing it and like, but no, that was like that. If you're going to float a name out there, bring back Craig Anderson.
I like
sure.
it.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Next couple questions, and then we'll be finished for the show. Jordan Davies at NATR66. If JT Comfort doesn't pick up his play, who's a viable trade option? And again, another piggyback, Dominic Halanas at DG Kickass. Why don't they put Comfort on the wing, Jost at center? He cannot be worse than Comfort. Again, we kind of talked about Comfort's struggles for sure.
Yeah, so we could be quick with that one too. As far as moving them, Jost and Comfort around, I don't think that would really like help anything. I think what would help, like I said earlier, is taking Comfort out of the lineup for a couple games and having that serious sit down conversation with Coach Bednar, and it's like, you got to be better. This is unacceptable. Why don't you sit up in the press box for a couple games and watch, and you watch some film, see what you're doing wrong, see what you're doing better, and that could do a lot for a player. Like, obviously it sucks to be taken out of the lineup when you're a regular guy. He hasn't missed a game yet, but I think it's invaluable to kind of get that slap on the wrist and have that serious conversation with your coach and with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm not playing to the standards that I need to be. And I think JT Comfort would be the first person to tell you that. Just like Ryan Graves, when we chatted with him, it was always just he's like, if I'm being open and honest with myself, yeah, I've had my ups and downs. Like, I'm not as good as I should be, and those are the honest conversations that players need to have. And I think that's something JT Comfort needs to have with himself. And I think he should be taken to the lineup for a couple games to kind of think about it. And trade bait, yeah, maybe he's signed to a cheap like $3 million contract for the next couple of years. That's an attractive option for people, for other teams, GMs. Or I think he's a guy that I've kind of floated on my Seattle list too, as a guy that the Avs could possibly expose, and it might be taken. So we'll see. Yeah, either I think one way or another, he's maybe not on this team next year. I'll say that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, that's another Scott McDonald take right there. So, all right. Well, that's it for our episode number 7. Straight Outta Tahoe is what I decided to name this one. So
Nice.
Last one was Lake Tahoe or bust. Now it's just Straight Outta Tahoe because Scott, was on a whirlwind trip out there and everything. So
For sure.
Anyway, all right. So that's it for this episode. And if you guys want to follow our show, you can do it on pretty much any major podcast platform, Google, Apple, Stitcher, etc. And please give our Twitter account a follow, as you can see by our handle scrolling below. That's at Front RNG HOCKEY, Front Range Hockey, Ranges RNG. So Scott, if people don't already know, where can the people find your work?
Off Scott Free. You can see it if you're watching the video podcast. That's at 0FF Scott Free. On Twitter all the time. You can find my work at coloradohockeynow.com. Come join me and Adrian Dater Thursday at Blake Street Tavern, probably around 6 o'clock. We're going to be recording a live podcast there, and we'll love to interact with some of you guys. Maybe you get some free swag out of it. So come join us. It'll be a good time. Maybe I'll buy you a beer, and we could cheers to the Avalanche.
There you go. And I'm CC Hawkley. You can find my written work at Full Press Hockey. That's www.fullpresshockey.com. Check out this and a ton of other great hockey podcasts, plus other great sports pods on the Full Press Radio Network at www.fullpresscoverage.com. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, once again, thank you for listening, and stay colorful, my friends.
Peace out.
Peace out. Bye.